Hello, everybody. How are you doing? How's your weekend been? I hope it's been great, fabulous. I have eaten so much chicken today. It's unbelievable. I need to be smacked, honestly, the way I have misbehaved. But who gonna smack me, boo? Uh, we're here once again to have a fantastic conversation. I am so excited for today's episode. You wouldn't even believe it. But before we start, I'm Weezy, and on here today we have my co-host Sussex Love. Say hello, Sussex Love.
Hello, Squatty family. How are you?
Okay, we've
Oh,
got Marcia on. She's the only one in the chat at the moment. Okay, everyone's beginning to say hello, hello, hello. We've got
hello,
Rosalie.
fam. Hello, fam.
We've got Joyce Anderson. Boy, have we got a session for you today. It is chock a block with all your favorite things: celebrity news, parenting advice, and sprinkled in with some Harry and Meghan stuff. So let's get started. Okay, let us get started. So let's put the screen up. Sit. Okay, so we've got to just a second while I get the get the presentation up. Just a moment.
Uh
Um,
oh.
where is it?
Uh oh. Uh oh. Uh oh. I've lost it. Oh, no. No, 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 no. No. Okay. Can you hear me still?
Yeah, I can hear
Okay.
you. Everyone can
Okay.
hear you actually.
Oh, okay.
um,
Okay. Cool.
just trying to get the presentation up, and it seems as you do, it is trying to do its own thing. So just give me a moment.
Sure. Hi, Gwen Daniel. Hope you're doing well.
For some reason, the first page of the presentation is running away from me, but that's okay. We will begin. We will begin anyway. So, guys, recently there has been a wave of celebrity children dropping their father's surnames. From Brad Pitt to Tom Cruise, it seems like these Generation Alpha kids are taking no prisoners when it comes to holding their celebrity parents accountable for their toxic behavior. So, how many of you knew that actually the after Gen Z, the next set, the name of the next generation is called Generation Alpha? I
Wow,
didn't
I
realize
didn't know that.
that until I did a deep dive into this video, actually. And the generation coming after them is going to be called Generation Beta,
Oh,
BETA. I'm saying
beta,
that
beta.
beta, beta. So Generation Alpha is what we've got next, and after them is going to be Generation Beta. we're
Yes.
we're going into computer age as it is right now. Okay, so let me say hello. They've got a lot more people in the chat right now. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our series on the effects of Toxic Fatherhood. I'm Weezy, and welcome back to Isabella Bank's YouTube channel. If you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button and join the Isabellian community. It's fun over here. Uh, it
Yes, it
is
is.
it is fun. um, When Daniel says, all I can say is wow. Why? What's going on? I almost want to stop what I'm doing to find out what you're talking about. This is how much of a busybody I am.
She might she might be talking about the toxic British media and the low depths they continue to stoop to. That might be
Right,
what she's referring to. What
right.
is that one that's with Thomas Barkle that I can't think of her name? You know what I'm talking about? The one that Barron always shows a picture of her and says he couldn't imagine her climbing that mountain. I can't think of her name.
uh,
Anyway,
is that his sister? Megan's sister,
no, it's a British reporter, the one that got his phone and got
Rubble
the story from.
Jobson.
No, the blonde woman, the one that's in the picture with him next to him hugged up, that Barron always shows. I can't think of her name.
Oh, I know Caroline something.
Maybe so.
Caroline,
Is
Caroline
that what you're
something.
talking about, Gwen? The horrible thing that she's done? Maybe that's
Hmm.
what Gwen is talking about.
Right.
That she just recently did because of Harry's award.
Oh no, she has clarified in the chat. She says because of the names of the next generation.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
okay. So today we are exploring a serious topic, kind of, but with a bit of a twist. First off, can we just learn something from Prince Harry, Suri Cruise, and Brad Pitt about breaking the cycle of toxic fatherhood? Stay tuned as we discover the steps we need to take to detoxify our own selves from the impact of toxic fatherhood. Because a lot of us don't even realize that we are also victims of toxic fatherhood. Perhaps we're just made of stronger stuff, or we had other things around us which helped us balance out. And so we didn't realize that we were also victims of toxic fatherhood. But in any case, um, if we are interested in making things better for the next generation, it's important that we take the steps necessary to break the cycle. So, in this video, we're going to be sharing some of the resources, techniques, and amazing book recommendations that can help you become the best parent or grandparent that you can be. And Sussex Love.
Yes, I got lost because I was looking at the. What, are we on page 4, right?
Mm.
4? Okay, there we
Mhm.
go. Because I was looking at the pictures on the screen. Just last week, People magazine reported that both Shiloh Pitt and Suri Cruise have applied to drop their father's surnames, indicating that both teenagers have complicated and strained relationships with their fathers. These high profile cases give us a unique glimpse into the effects of toxic fatherhood. His Meet Chris. Remember Chris? Chris is the son who gave his father whiskey and nuts on Father's Day. He could not for the life of him understand why his father was so upset at his Father's Day gift, and how now vowed not to give his father any Father's Day gifts in the future. Chris works for a reputable bank in middle management position, juggling his career and parenting. Sound familiar? Let's see what he can learn from these celebrity stories, shall we? What is toxic fatherhood? First, let's dive into exactly what we mean by toxic fatherhood. We had discussed in a previous.
Personality, energy.
Oh, we had discussed in a previous video. The link we will be in the description box below. But for those who are just joining us, is that you? Toxic fatherhood can manifest in many ways, from emotional unavailability to outright abuse. Just look at King Charles' emotional unavailability with Prince Harry when he was growing up.
Okay.
Also, look at the toxic fatherhood displayed in situations like Megan's dad, betrayal, and the subsequent gaslighting after he sold her private letter to the media. Toxic fatherhood reared its ugly head in Pitt's strained relationship with his children. The toxic fatherhood which Brad Pitt is accused of reportedly stemmed from physical and verbal abuse during their marriage to Angelina Jolie. An incident of him being drunk and verbally abusive of Angelina and two of his children.
Oh, oh. Sussex Love got kicked out, so I'm sure she's going to be wanting to try to come back in. So, what she was talking about was the toxic fatherhood, which Brad Pitt is accused of, reportedly stemmed from physical and verbal abuse during his marriage to Angelina Jolie. An incident of him being drunk and verbally abusive of Angelina and two of his children was cited during their divorce case. His daughter, Shiloh, recently dropped Pitt from her last name. That speaks volumes. According to sources, Brad was devastated by Shiloh's choice. The kids have found it difficult to reconcile with Brad despite his repeated apologies and efforts to rebuild trust. For him, though, it wasn't just a name change, it symbolized a deeper estrangement that's been brewing for years. Brad's relationship with his adopted children, Maddox and Pax, is non existent at this point, and he barely, if ever, hears from Zahara. Whereas Brad still sporadically sees Vivian, Knox, and Shiloh at his Los Feliz mansion, located just a few blocks away from Angelina's home. The fact that he's unable to mend his relationship with his adopted non white children is interesting to say the least, while he manages to maintain some kind of connection to his biological children. But that would be a whole other video. So, guys, as we continue this discussion, take a moment to reflect on your own experiences. How has your relationship with your children, your parents, shaped the way you relate with your own children or your grandchildren? Leave your comments in the comment section below. Because this brings us to Prince Harry, who has been vocal about his struggles with his father, King Charles. Harry's decision to move to the US and step back from royal duties was partly influenced by his desire to break away from a toxic environment. Both the stories of Shiloh Pitt and Suri Cruz shows us that toxic fatherhood inju- can deeply affect children's well-being and identity to the point that they no longer want to answer their father's last surname. They, this is what the generation alpha children are doing now. They say, you don't want to be with me or you're being abusive to me. All right, I am kicking your name off my name. Don't, no connection to you whatsoever. Go away. You want to be away from me? Go away and stay away. Don't come back. Don't look back. Don't pass go. Do not pay 200. Just go straight to relationship jail. Let me look at the uh oh, Sussex Love is back. So just a second. Just a second. So if you recall, in video 2 of this series, my friend Tony, we are now on page 14. So if you recall, in
Oh,
video 2 of this series, my friend Tony called to discuss what he could do to break the cycle of toxic fatherhood in his life. If you haven't watched that video yet, the link will be in the description box of this video after the video. Go ahead and watch the entire series because it's packed with information and resources to help you identify and deal with the impact of toxic fatherhood in your life. But before we dive any further into this video, if you're finding value in this conversation, make sure to hit the subscribe button and join our community. Your subscription brings us more important discussions. Your subscription helps us bring more important discussions like this one to light. Okay. All right. So, moving on to the reason why we are here, which is how to break the cycle of toxic fatherhood. So, to in order to get into this conversation, we need to go back to my story about Chris. Remember that guy who bought his father whiskey and nuts on Father's Day, and his father was upset with his gift? So, now, if we were to advise Chris, and if Chris wanted to break the cycle of fatherhood, which he does, the first step Chris is going to have to take is to, first of all, acknowledge the problem. Do you know how many of us are walking around with toxic behavior and are passing it down willy nilly without sufficient self awareness to know that we have been taught toxic behavior and we are passing that toxic behavior all the way down? For Chris to actually do the work, he was going to need to dig deep within himself to identify and acknowledge the toxic behavior his father exhibited during his childhood. He also has to understand that this toxic behavior he exhibits, he also has to review his behavior with his own son to ensure to identify any toxic behavior he might be exhibiting with his own son. So if you're listening, I am hoping that it's because you can relate to this topic and you want to be able to do better for yourself, your kids, or your grandkids. God Almighty gives us multiple chances to make amends. So maybe this video is coming to someone at the right time so that you can make amends because life is short, isn't it? Life is short. All right. So the second step would be to seek out professional help. A trained therapist can help you identify and uproot the root causes of your trauma, offering support and expertise. That is crucial in the process. Attempting to tackle childhood trauma alone can be overwhelming, often leaving individuals unsure of where to begin or feeling discouraged when faced with difficult emotions. For sure, therapy provides essential coping mechanisms to effectively manage stress. We are now on page 19. And so, therapy provides essential coping mechanisms to effectively manage stress, anxiety, and other emotional challenges that stem from childhood trauma. Through therapy, individuals learn healthy ways to navigate complex family dynamics and establish boundaries that promote healing and personal growth. I know one thing for sure: if one does the proper work, then it will certainly make Thanksgiving, Christmas Day, and Easter Day gatherings a lot smoother in a lot of households. In a lot of households. Okay. So, whenever you feel ready to do so, therapy can be undertaken as a group or with family members, fostering collective support and understanding in the healing journey. This approach allows for shared experiences and insights that can deepen familial bonds and accelerate healing. Sussex Love.
Hi. No, it won't let me come back to the opening. I've tried to open it several times and I can't.
Okay. So this brings to mind Iyanla Van Zandt and her episode with Tamar Braxton. Who watched this episode? Did anybody watch this episode in the chat? While you are trying to answer the question, let me have a look at what people are saying in the chat. Uh, Hi, Ghislaine, Pride, Flower, Pansexual. Joyce Anderson says, I didn't grow up with my parents. I was raised by my grandparents. Thank God. Oh. Gwen Daniel says, my dad was a quiet man and very loving. Miss him every day. He's been dead for 50 years plus. Oh. Joyce Anderson says, I know what is right and what is wrong. I choose to do right. Absolutely. Gwen Daniel says, I saw it, right? There's clearly something going on with Tamar because none of her behavior is normal. What do you guys think? Am I the only one seeing it? Especially after her divorce from Vince. It seems like the most sane and normal I have seen Tamar was when she was married to that guy, Vince Herbert. Hello, Lady Rose. You might actually have a lot more to say about this topic because we are completely in your wheelhouse. We are discussing toxic fatherhood and the steps that people can take to heal themselves from toxic fatherhood in order to break the cycle of making sure that they don't pass down the toxic behaviors to their children.
Hi, Lady Rose.
Gwen Daniel says she was really disrespectful and hostile. Yes. And she couldn't seem to communicate. She doesn't seem to be able to. Well, she's doing a lot better now, but then she was really volatile. She couldn't seem to communicate her needs and desires calmly. And she was every time just so very sensitive about every little thing. And she couldn't stand anyone checking her. I don't know whether that's an ego thing or
Yes, that's her ego. Yes.
she couldn't stand anyone telling her, no, Tamar, this is wrong. You don't need to do that. She just feels like everything is right.
She
How can everything be right with you? But you should need to be open, right? Because it's a learning experience, right?
Why would you come to that show if you weren't willing to learn something that you didn't know?
Right.
I'm
Right.
Paige.
Her mom had to put her in a place. Yes, I was so proud of her mom. She said, "Wait a minute, wait a minute. You were not raised that way." I loved it. Love to see Mama Bear standing up for her family's reputation because Tamar was just about to be very, very ratchet. Anyway, so seeking therapy, whether individually or with loved ones, marks a proactive step towards healing and reclaiming control over your emotional well being. It's an investment in your future self. equipped with the tools and resilience to overcome the lasting effects of childhood trauma. And guess who we know has been listening to uh, the advice about taking in therapy? It's our beloved cousin, Prince Harry.
You want me to read this for you?
Okay, go ahead.
A well-known family therapist called Jane Smith, family therapist, said family therapy can be transformative for families affected by toxic dynamics. It empowers them to navigate conflicts constructively and foster natural understanding mutually.
Right. So I seem to recall at one time that Prince Harry had asked his family to arrange a family therapy session. And then Camilla had said, "No way. What do you mean family therapy? Why do we need to go outside of the family to discuss our family issues? We can resolve it within ourselves." Well, it's been how many years later and they've still not been able to resolve the family issues, have they?
No, maybe we should do one on toxic stepmothers.
That is a good one. That
Because
is an absolute good one. That is fantastic. Fantastic. That is um what is the impact really of a toxic stepmother in the family? Because in this case, she has completely torn the family apart. They keep blaming Prince Harry, but it's actually Camilla who
it
tore
is.
that family apart. Right from when they were young, she has, right from when um, Princess Diana was alive, she completely tore the family apart with all kinds of shenanigans.
Yeah.
Uh,
You'd be surprised how many
Go ahead.
times Diana had a toxic stepmother when Diana died. So you'd be surprised how many times the dynamic is made worse by the father or mother picking a horrible partner to be
Yeah,
the stand-in for the original parent. It makes it even
yeah,
worse.
exactly. Exactly. So the parent is already toxic, and then he picks a partner who makes an already toxic situation worse. Oh my gosh. No wonder Harry couldn't wait to get away.
No wonder. No wonder.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see. The third tip I can give people who are looking for ideas on how to break the cycle of toxicity is to educate yourself. Become interested in educating yourself on the subject matter. It's really not a it's it's a very possible task. I It is because of this that I shared my own story because as I said in video 2 of this series, it's not like I had parents who were abusive, but I think neglect is kind of abuse. And it's my own situation is not an uncommon one because a lot of parents from Africa, Nigeria, and African people from all over the African country, I'm sure Asia, all over the world, when they have children, they think, oh, okay, I'm going over to greener pastures. Let me leave my child at home where we've got tight family units back home. They will help me take care of my child. I'll send money home to take care of the child. And as long as the child is safe, then it's all fine. But you forget that you don't factor in the area that has to do with the mental and emotional development of the child. And oftentimes while the child is fed, clothed, and educated, but the child does not have development in the other areas of their life where they need development, like socialization, uh like training the child. I was brought up like a human being. I wasn't brought up either male or masculine. I had to learn how to be a lady. And that's why uh etiquette, learning elegance is one of my favorite things to do, because I didn't have an opportunity. I didn't have someone to teach me how to be a lady, how to be a woman when I was younger. Do you know it took me until it was my boyfriend who taught me how to cook jollof rice for the first time? He taught
Wow.
me how to wash my private areas properly. I was already in university.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, I was already in university. He saw me having my bath one day and he was like, "What are you doing? Are you done?" I was like, "Yes." He's like, "No, no, 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 no. You're a lady. You need to do more." I was like, "Really?" He said, "Yes. I know that hold on." And then he placed the call to his sister, and his sister then said, "Oh, then he had a conversation with his sister and he just explained a couple of things to her and he said to her, "Can you teach her?
My goodness.
Can you teach her a few things?" And then, his sister invited me over and she was like, "So, how do you have your bath? What is he talking about?" Because she did not believe that I did not know.
Wow. Wow. Well, you know
And
what?
she literally made me have my bath like in front of her. And when she did, she said, "Oh, I see. Okay." Then she now started to show me, like, when you have your bath, do this,
But
do this,
you know
do this.
what? It's like
Yeah,
the people not knowing how to use washcloths,
right.
and they seem to be proud of it. Though it's different. See, that's how another way we're different than them. They seem to be proud of stuff that we think is really awful. I mean, this there was two white ladies talking about proudly how they didn't use washcloths. She just used her hand with the soap,
Yes.
and that was it. And she
Yeah.
really meant it. She didn't understand the use of a washcloth.
Right.
If people take for granted certain things that yes, you do have to be taught. I
Yes.
argue with this lady of a different color, and I
Yeah.
explained that the black Moors taught the white people in ancient times how to bathe because they
Yeah.
were filthy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's about you need that for. I mean, for myself, for example, I didn't have a mother. Period. So my
Yeah.
father had to do everything, and of
Yeah.
course his mother. So it's different perspectives and different.
Yeah.
You can have a toxic, horrible father, and you can have a father that's wonderful, and just have a complete absence of the other parent
Absence. Yes.
having to do everything.
Yeah.
And but you can get a better understanding. I wouldn't have had a better understanding of men and how they think had
Mm.
I been raised by a father and had the foresight to understand. Well, ask him questions. He's a man, instead of going to my mother's sisters.
Yeah.
It just kind of goes around. You just have to be things. You need to be taught a lot of things that people just take for
Take
granted when
for
not
granted. Yeah.
good, two good parents.
What you're laughing about that bit? That bit was even a little bit understandable because unless you have someone who's close to you when you're in your teenage years, some people don't even take the time to explain how to wash your privates. What about washing your underwear? Washing
Exactly.
your underwear. That is a
But
whole
men have
that
a
was
problem.
a whole other conversation. And
That's men have
to
a
my
problem.
eternal embarrassment, it was the same. And thank goodness he was the one I married at the end of the day. But
Men,
he
men are
did taught
worse.
me how to wash my underwear.
Men are worse. Men are worse.
Young lady, when you're washing your underwear, you do this and you use this. And I was like, oh wow, okay.
I hear men are much, much worse. They don't mind having those streaks in their underwear. Oh, men are worse. Men are worse when it comes to understanding they must have clean underwear daily.
Yeah,
Men are
yeah,
worse.
yeah. So that's the reason why we take it for granted that just because we are grown and our body matures and that our knowledge matures alongside. But the fact is that a lot of people are grown, like you can be as old as 50 years old, but have the emotional and mental development of a 20-year-old just because of how much you don't know. And if you don't take the time to learn what you don't know and fill in the gaps yourself, you're going to keep on feeling like you're handicapped all throughout your life and you will suffer unnecessarily. So this is the reason why I told my own story, because I know that it's something that people don't talk about a lot because they feel shame, they feel embarrassment about talking about these things, and they don't want to look stupid. But after you look stupid the first time, after you've gained the knowledge, you become wise. So there's nothing to be embarrassed about. But I can tell you that one of the things that's made life begin to click for me was when I got this book. It's called The Father Daughter Talk. Honestly, I cannot sing the praises of this book enough. It is about 160 pages long and the fonts are really big. It is not a task to read this book. You could read this book in 2 hours. For those who are fast readers, you can read this book in 2 hours straight and be done. But when you finish reading it, it will open your mind. It will open your mind, especially those of us who grew up without any brothers. We didn't grow up with any mother, father, no brother. Oh my God. And you're set out in the world and you're supposed to start dating. You will be eaten raw. You'll be eaten,
Yeah,
you will be
well,
like sheep in the midst of wolves
yeah,
because you don't know how to carry yourself, you don't know how to protect yourself, you're easily manipulated, you think you're smart, you think you're streets wise, but there are certain things that only another man can teach you. And this is a man who wrote this book, just giving everybody the 411 on how what men are supposed to teach their daughters in order to protect themselves from outside manipulation.
well, you know
Uh,
what? I want to just add a little bit to
yeah.
that. Uh, it's a whole. It's not just that. It's also a different perspective. When I used to speak to my aunts and ask them advice on
Mm,
how to deal with men, it was from a woman's perspective, and it was
yeah.
totally different than what my father told me. My father spoke to me as
Mm,
a man. He told me how he related to women, what he
mm-hmm,
felt they reacted a certain way. And the advice he gave me changed my perspective and the way I dealt with men. And I was more successful with my
mm-hmm.
relationships after listening to what my father said. And just keep things like when you set a line that you will not go past, don't go past it. If you don't
Right.
can hold the line, don't set the line. But if you set it,
Right.
hold it. He said, because as a man, I'm going to tell you the first thing I will do is I will test you to see how far you'll let me go if you'll let me go over the line. He said that's
Right.
the first thing I do. And whereas from my aunts, that's not the advice that's not even perspective. Oh, a man's gonna do what he's gonna do. He's either gonna do it when he's younger or he's gonna
Right.
older. And I asked my father about that because I felt uncomfortable with that, and he said to me, a man can do anything he makes up his mind to do. If he
Mm-hmm.
loves you and respects you, he will treat you that way, and if he doesn't, he won't. And if he can't respect you and treat you the way you should when he loves you, then he is not really a man. So get rid of him.
Get rid of him.
So
Honestly.
it's totally different than I got from my aunts, and so his perspective was much more helpful to me dealing with men than theirs was.
With
You would think,
men,
I-
yes.
but it wasn't.
But you know, a lot of the I want to say the men who talk about dating tips, who'd speak to women like the Steve Harveys and what's Derek Jacksons and the who's the well-known dating coach that we know about? A lot of them say exactly the same thing. Even TD Jakes has said it. He has said that women talk to other women about how to deal with men from ideas that they have gotten from women's magazines, which are written by women to women. There's
That
no idea of
I'm
they have
sorry.
no idea what a man really thinks. And so when you are trying to deal with a man based on the tips that you got from a magazine which was written by a woman, is not discounting a woman's point of view, but obviously if you're dealing with a man, then it's helpful to get an idea from another man about how men think, and you can decide how you want to react to it, right?
Exactly. Exactly. And you'll understand why they're reacting to you a certain way when you thought it would be another way. You'll see
Right.
why they're reacting to you in that way because they process things differently.
Differently.
And
Yeah.
and um he made me understand that a man will give you the respect, but you have to demand it for yourself first. And when he
Right.
sees that that's where you are, if he wants to stay with you, then he'll adjust. He said you can't change your plans.
Sorry,
So
go no, go ahead, go ahead. I'm just
no, I'm
gonna send you a message.
oh,
Uh-huh.
all right. You want me to try to get the message?
Yeah. No, 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 it's fine. What I was going to say to you is that we are almost coming up on 45 minutes.
Oh, am I gone? Yeah.
So
Good.
what I was going to say is that we're almost coming up 45 minutes, and um this is part one. We're going to end the stream and then come back like 5 minutes later. Uh, s- for part two. I'm glad that we're enjoying the conversation. Lady Rose, I was really trying to be very considerate of the fact that you just moved, and I'm sure that you must be busy settling into your home. If not, I really wanted you on this conversation, but I'm so
Yeah.
glad that you are here. I'm
I'm
going to call you when we are taking a break, and I will see you in 5 minutes. All right, everyone. See you in about 5 to 10 minutes. Okay. Come back for part two. It's going to be fun.
okay.
All right, then. Take care. Bye.
All right.